Hi, this is Jason with Violator Comics Collectibles coming at you another toy review. And this time we're taking a look at the Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker Knight of Ren figure. And this is part of the Vintage Collection Star Wars toy line from Hasbro from 2019. So the first thing we're going to do is take a close look at the packaging. So take a look at the packaging. So this is supposed to mimic the original Star Wars vintage old school style packaging. And it does a pretty good job. You can see that it actually says Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker on there, and Knight of Ren. You can see a nice little bubble window of him, and it actually has the original Kenner logo because the original Star Wars figures were from Kenner before Hasbro took over years later. But I think it looks really good. The only thing I don't like about this is I was really hoping for just the Rise of Skywalker toy line. You know, the Episode 1 had its own toy line. Episode 2 did not. They actually had the Saga series, which is very reminiscent to this, where they had, it's like a toy line that has, you know, different categories of each of the toys. So they'd have like they'd re-release some Episode 1 figures or the Return of the Jedi, and they'd be all done a little differently. I kind of wish they would have had something more specific to the Rise of Skywalker, but this is the way they wanted to go. But the only good thing about this is they come with much better articulation than the toy lines that we got before in the last two previous movies, which is really nice. So we don't have those 5 points of articulation anymore. These are typically much more highly articulated. But looks really nice as far as the front, and on the back it just shows some of the figures on the back. So you can see the Knight of Ren, Zori Bliss, Rey, Luke Skywalker, X-Wing pilot. So these aren't all figures from the new movie. Some of them are from the other movies, in the vintage collection for the toy line, which is kind of unfortunate. With this Triple Force Friday, which was to celebrate the new movie coming out, the new Star Wars game coming out, and then also the Mandalorian. So that's why they called it Triple Force Friday. They are definitely holding back a lot of these toys because they had issues with these toys not selling very well. So they are definitely holding some stuff back, as well as for spoilers, they're trying to kind of keep stuff under wraps. So we didn't get a ton of stuff to start, and it doesn't sound like, from what Hasbro's been saying, that we're going to get a lot of stuff leading up to the movie. They're going to probably release like 60 to 65% of the toy line after the movie comes out. So we're not going to get a ton of stuff, which is unfortunate. But this is one of the ones that I really wanted to get, because the Knights of Ren were something they teased in The Force Awakens, and it was just kind of thrown out in The Last Jedi, and now we're getting them back. So this is, a lot of people are interested in these guys. They look really interesting, and I'm hoping they're going to release all of them eventually. But most importantly is, let's get this guy opened up. So getting the Knight of Ren out of the package. So obviously this is a 3 3/4 inch figure in the Vintage Collection toy line for the Rise of Skywalker, and this guy looks fantastic. Now obviously each of the Knights of Ren are going to have a different look, and they as of now we don't know their names, if they're just going to be just called, each one's going to be called individually like a Knight of Ren, if they're going to have individual names or whatnot. But I think this guy looks fantastic, down to the way his face is and the way that the whole figure's done, and down to the paint in the bottom half where it looks like it's dirt, like sand, like maybe we'll see this guy on a sand planet. But they all seem to have like different weapons, not using lightsabers. You know, some of them look like to have like melee and close quarters combat weapons. I think some of them have blasters, and this one happens to have a battle axe. I'm not sure if in the movie they're going to have some kind of like laser tip blade that actually, you know, if they could fight against lightsabers just like the Praetorian Guards did in The Last Jedi. We'll kind of have to see on that. But overall, this guy looks good. So he obviously comes with his staff, which is pretty much the only thing he comes with. And this is actually a two-piece staff. The head does come off if he wanted to pull this off. It actually fell off when I first pulled it out of the package, but it's not something loose that goes in real tight. And it's really nice. I love the red on the handle. It looks really fantastic. And then kind of going into the figure, we can kind of see he's got this nice head. He's got this like headdress where these are actually, this rubberized piece right here is actually glued to him that has this attached to it, as well as this piece in the back. But as you can see, he's really good as far as the detail is concerned. I really like the silver gauntlets he has. He doesn't stand very well on his own, just because of the several of the articulation points. I haven't actually broke them apart yet, so he doesn't really stand super well, so I have him on a stand that does not come with it. But overall looks really fantastic. I love the mask. I think the mask is absolutely menacing looking. These guys look absolutely fantastic, and I can't wait to see them all lined up together. Hopefully we get that in the movie. As for articulation, this guy has an incredible amount of articulation. So starting with the head, his head rotates, moves all the way around. You know, it's got like on a ball joint, really nice. He's also got upper torso, twist, and bend, which is really nice. That's pretty much where it is. There's nothing else at the waist that seems to move. His arms move all the way around, and they also move in and out, so like almost like a ball joint. Then he also bends and twists at the elbow, and then he also twists at the hand. And then his legs, kind of an issue. So as you can see right here, so he moves all the way around, swivels all the way around, and you can see the joint right here where the leg will move up and down, but it's so tight I still haven't been able to break it apart. I'm going to have to use a hairdryer, as well as there's also a twist point right here, but same thing, it's so tight it's very hard to move it. Then he also bends at the knee. It's just a one joint bend. He does rotate at the knee, which is really nice, and then he also spins and pivots at the ankle. So I mean, this thing has a ton, and that's obviously the same for both legs. So there is a ton of articulation on this guy, but like I said, I'm having a hard time accessing some of it to start. It's so tight, I almost feel like I'm going to rip the figure apart if I don't do something like heat it up and see if that'll help with a hairdryer before I try to move it. Probably my favorite thing about this guy is his mask. I mean, it looks absolutely incredible. I love the individual looks of these guys. They all have the different looks, these dark looking faces, almost, you know, Vader-esque-ish look to his face, which is really cool. And then you can see, you know, this headdress is all one piece, these big flaps. And I think this guy looks so cool. I think they did a great job with this guy in the design. And this seems to be the same design as the Force Awakens. I did see him in that clip. You can see this guy with his axe in there, which is really cool. But let's take a close look at the body. Take a look closer at the torso. You can see he's got a ton of like wraps and stuff like that on him. He's got the head part coming down. He's got a little silver belt piece right there, which looks really cool. I mean, this guy looks really cool. And then he's got this long staff with these little pieces that go down for like what I'm assuming are grips, and he's got the top of his axe. You know, who knows if this is a straight up melee weapon or if it's going to have any kind of like laser ability or anything that can actually fight against lightsabers. We'll kind of have to see, but you know, this guy looks really cool. Definitely like a dark looking, you know, wrapped up body, like Tusken Raider-ish. Another one of my favorite parts is the bottom half, like the coloring. Now, I don't know if he's going to look like this all the time or if this is something to do because we're going to see him on the desert planet. But you can see all the dirt and debris on the bottom half. I think this is colored beautifully, all the way down to the tassels that are connected to his head. I mean, this thing looks amazing. And his boots with these metal pieces on it. I mean, I think they did a great job. Look how weathered and dirty that looks. I think they did a phenomenal job with this guy. And the molding looks fantastic. I mean, you're definitely getting a lot with this figure. And for size comparison, here we have the Knight of Ren next to the Force Awakens 3 3/4 inch Black Series Kylo Ren, which is one of my favorite 3 3/4 inch figures. It's got the nice cloth and stuff like that on it. So both these figures have a ton of articulation. You know, I definitely appreciate the Vintage Collection's articulation. It's much better than the other two series that we got before the Force Awakens and the Last Jedi with that like 5 points of articulation. They definitely stepped up their game. The only thing that comes at a cost, so obviously the Force Awakens toys start at about $8.99. These start at about $12.99, so you're looking at like $13 per figure if you wanted to get into the 3 3/4 inch series, which is a little bit unfortunate. So it's kind of a little bit off-putting. Before they had the standard lower quality, less articulation figures, then that you could also get the 3 3/4 inch Black Series figures, which would be about at this price point, and then you had the 6-inch Black Series figures. So you kind of had 3 different things you wanted to do. Now they have more of these cartoony figures for the kids, and then this is kind of like the lowest starting collector's point, which is, like I said, for articulation it's great, but for price point it's kind of rough, because you're looking at every single 3 3/4 inch figure is going to be about $13, and that's kind of heavy. But this is one of my most anticipated figures. I really like this guy, the Knight of Ren. I hope they release all of them. It's just unfortunate they're not releasing a ton of figures. This is only one of a handful that we're going to get probably before the movie, just for spoilers and stuff like that, and because a lot of Star Wars toys were having issues with sales, so they're kind of being a little bit more conservative right now. But a fantastic figure. This is going to look great if they're going to release all of them to line them up with their figures. You can see how he looks with Kylo Ren right now. I think it's a fantastic figure. The detailing is amazing. I love how dirty he looks on his lower half and how everything looks. I mean, he looks fantastic. But once again, this has been Jason of Violator Comics Collectibles. If you have questions or comments, leave them in the comment section below. If you like the video, hit the like button, subscribe to us on YouTube, like us on Facebook, and I will see you guys next time.